Okay, this evening we have my brother Morris Scruggs. Um, Morris is the son of Jonas and
Susie.
Susie. Um, we're just grateful that he's here. It's like I made him come, but he's easy on us. He's surrounded by girls, so it's like, hey, that it is what it is. But Morris, as you come this evening, I appreciate you. I don't know if I tell you enough. I really do appreciate you. In addition to loving you a lot, I appreciate you as a human being. And as we come this evening, it's so that others can know Morris. Um, let's start off with you. Since I didn't know you as a youngster, tell us where you were born. Where were you born? In Chicago?
I was born in Chicago at the Cook County Hospital.
Me too.
Uh,
That was the place to be, huh?
that was it. Uh,
Where did you go to school?
in kindergarten, I attended a school called Felsenthal. It was at 42nd and Calumet. It's no longer there. From there, I went to a school called Henry Horner, 41st in Michigan.
Mhm.
And we moved to an area known as uh, at 93rd and State, Gillespie Elementary School. And when I went back to Henry Horner, I stayed there till I graduated in 1951.
Mhm.
From there, I attended Dunbar Trade School at 4401 St. Lawrence, and I graduated from there. And a few months later, I entered the United States Air Force. Um, you want me to continue from there or what?
Well, did you enjoy school? I'll ask you that.
I really enjoyed school. I didn't know what to expect at Dunbar. I had went to a few football games with my cousin when she was at Dunbar. And I fell in love with the blue and gold school colors, and everyone seemed to be so friendly. And when I got to Dunbar, I joined uh, similar to ROTC, we call Civil Air Patrol
Yeah.
Cadet. And I was on the football team, wrestling team. I ran the little track, and I played softball.
Wow, you were active.
I self-active,
Yeah.
yeah. And
What made you decide to go into the Air Force?
I went into the Air Force because the people around me as I grew up as a kid used to go to an area called Harlem Airport. It was owned by, I believe his name was Richard, and my mom used to take us out there and watch the high flying aircrafts, and I just fell in love with flying.
Mhm.
And one day I would be a pilot, but that that dream fell apart. But I enjoyed myself in the Air Force the best I could. Um, what traveling I did do, I enjoyed everywhere I went.
Mhm.
There was a bad area where I was sent by the Air Force that I did not enjoy. Um, upon my discharge, I stayed in the Air Force Reserve for 3 months,
Mhm.
3 years, and the rest is history.
So what places did you travel to?
I went to Alaska. I went in and out of the Caribbeans. Uh, I was up in Montana, Wyoming, Wisconsin, New York, New Mexico, Arizona, mostly stateside. Um,
Mhm.
I did what they call crypto communication. I went to school for that. And that's why I bumped around a lot. I was more or less at the time a fill in or troubleshooter
Okay.
of crypto communication. Like I said, I enjoy it.
What did that involve?
You receive communication, teletype communication would receive top secret messages. They would bring them back to my area, which is crypto. And I would have to encrypt the message.
Mhm.
And depending on who gets it or how it's to be delivered from that point, someone else does that. There have been times when we had to make the delivery ourselves. It it was comical. I want to, since you asked me this, one day we got a crypto message and I forgot who encrypted, me or my friend. And hey, Queen Elizabeth is coming to Chicago. And we were all excited because it was top secret. And we got off from work and drove, and we had to go through downtown Chicago to get home to the south side. And lo and behold, there's the evening newspaper talking about Queen Elizabeth coming to Chicago.
Mhm.
Good is top secret when everyone else already know about it.
Hey, you did your job. Hey.
I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, but those were good moments. I was able to visit a couple of Indian tribes, Menominee. They were up in Wisconsin, Cherokee. Uh, I met a couple of guys who said they were with the Mohawks.
Mhm.
Very interesting combination of people living together. I believe it was in right outside of Wyoming called Casper, Wyoming. Uh, I'm sorry, it was in Wyoming, but it was in an area called Casper, not too far from Cheyenne.
Mhm.
And it's basically it. I played football in service. That was my limit while I was in service because of the workload I had.
Yeah.
So that,
You got a chance to meet people and see places.
I
That's
did.
good.
I met a Tuskegee Airman for the first time. He flew into O'Hare Field, the military section, and it was just strange to see this high profile young black man get out of C-47
Mhm.
hangar. He talked to us for a while, but he went on to do whatever it was he had to do.
Right.
That's the first time I got interested in knowing about the airmen in World War II.
So how you stayed like 3 years in?
I stayed 4 years. I went in 55. I was discharged August of 59. And like I said, I did 3 year reserve after that.
Would do you ever think about what it would have been like if you had stayed in?
Well, a year later, I went back to re-enlist. They told me I would have to go to a base in Louisiana for, I believe the guy said 55 weeks.
Mm.
It would have taken away me being in teletype crypto communication and put me in another area. I was not a lover of the South back in the 50s,
Right.
60s, and I told him no way.
Yeah.
There have been times I wish I had stayed. I would have been discharged after 20 years at age 38, 39. But you live with what you do,
Yeah.
what
And
I did.
you were coming up on the Vietnam era as well.
Yes.
So that would have been rough. So tell
Yeah.
me, after you got out, then what did you do?
After I left the Air Force, I worked part-time for the Southside Boys Club on Michigan Avenue, 37th and Michigan, drove a bus up to Three Rivers for them to have 2 weeks of camp, come back and rotate. In doing that, I got a job with Chicago Transit Authority.
Hmm.
And I worked with them for 2 years. And from there, I went to International Harvester because the pay was a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Married at the time, and I was trying to make enough money to make a future for me and my family.
Right.
Um, I stayed with International Harvester till they closed down in '83, and I had 23 years service, so that helped with as far as retirement go. And from there, I went and worked at IIT at 35th and State Street,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a research lab, and it was a gas technology, and uh, I really enjoyed that area also because of the 283 people who worked on State Street. They laugh at me because I knew everyone by first name, last name, or nickname. And whenever I walk into an area where there was some unkind language being used, I would always James 3 and walk out.
Mm-hmm.
Ask what is James 3. I said, grab your Bible and find out. It was about controlling your tongue when you talk,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and about it to this day. And I enjoyed that. Left from there and I went to Harvey, Illinois, where my dad and sisters grew up. And I worked with the police department
Yeah.
6 years. So
How'd you
uh,
like being in the police department?
it was interesting. I wanted to make a difference in helping Harvey uh, stay clean of drugs, prostitution, things like that.
Mhm.
And the mayor that I worked under, Nick Graves, he grew up in Chicago, Harvey, and he often talked about he was the first drummer for the Dells. You
Mhm.
remember?
Mhm.
He often teased about he was the first white boy that played for the Dells. Uh, I enjoyed Nick, and I took him home. He never had a chance to run for reelection. And at that point, I lost interest.
Yeah.
So
So you are known as the one that thought of the family reunion. How did that come about? What made you want to do that?
for years, my mom used to come home and say, I saw your Uncle Joe. Your dad had another kid. You better hurry up and see your dad before he have another one so you get to know him. And I really wasn't that interested in meeting my dad, but my sisters and brothers. And once after my mom passed, my aunt told me I need to go see my dad and put away this anger. Uh,
Mhm.
and I did. I came Winchester and I knocked on two or three houses before I knocked on the right one. And he let me in. We talked. And I told him I wanted to meet my sisters and brothers. And he said, want to be home 1 or 2 weeks, and I came back. I believe it was Jonetta
Mm-hmm.
for them. And I met her for a short moment. The next time, Lenore was in the room sleeping, and he woke her up, and she said, and I said, you go back to sleep. She turned around, went right back to sleep. So I sit down with Dad a little after that with Annette, another sister. And I said, I want to do a reunion, Dad. I want to meet all my sisters and brothers at one time and the rest of the family. He said, well, the only way he knew how to do it, uh, he would have to get in touch with everyone. So Annette and I got together as far as getting in touch with Aunt Vera, who lived in Detroit at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Got in touch with Aunt Anna and uh, Aunt
Mildred
Street. I'm trying to think of the other one who passed,
and Missouri.
Aunt Missouri. And um, it got together. We first T-shirts were gold and black. It was in Dan Rand Woods. And I had a chance to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
So overjoyed. And I had two of my daughters with me, and we just had a ball. We
Mm-hmm.
had, and that's how the reunion got started.
Yeah. And we just had our 41st. So you did a good thing. You got the ball rolling.
Thank you, sis.
No telling when it would have ever or if it would have started without you. But the time was right. Um, oh, and also Uncle Joseph. You got a chance to spend time with him. Uncle Joe would come over every weekend and he come early in the morning and you
Yeah,
knew he was there because he be talking loud. But we had some good people in our family, and I'm I'm glad you got a chance to meet them, and you know more of them than I do.
yeah. Aunt Vera once told me, "Why you ask so many questions?" I said, "I'm just trying to catch up, Aunt Vera."
Mm-hmm.
Um, Me and Curtis used to go visit her at least once a month. Curtis hadn't gone up there in a while, and I said, "No, we going once a month. I'm gonna see
Mm-hmm.
my just bug the heck out of her."
Yeah.
Pardon me coming up there, and we used to sit up and just laugh, just her and I, and
Mm-hmm.
just she filled me in on a lot of history on the Carter side, how Uncle uh, AY met in
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi. And she talked about our great grandfather, John. And I didn't know that she had to share a bed with Uncle John for a short while.
Mm-hmm.
As she gave me a lot of insight about him.
Mm-hmm. So since you spent time with her, is there anything that you'd like to share about Aunt Vera? She was
No,
active in her community and stuff. So
Aunt Vera was just came. She I never seen her sad about anything.
mm-hmm.
I'm moments like we all have, but uh, she took me to her church. She introduced me around. Um, I met the Carter family up there, Dwayne Carter. I met the rest of her, Marshall and what's Marshall's brother name? The one that passed,
Was it James?
James. I met James and Dwayne's mother,
Mm-hmm.
and she was in California. And her and her husband came back. He was sickly and he passed on in Detroit.
Yeah.
But Aunt Vera, getting back to Aunt Vera, she talked a lot about Mississippi the struggles when she came up to Detroit. Anyone who came from out of town always had a place to stay with her. And that's basically it.
Yeah. Now, I know that you and Curtis were buds. So tell us something about Curtis. You were road dogs.
Yeah, when Curtis and I first met, it was for him to do some work on some property I had. I knew he was my cousin and everything, but he just came by and we started off slow, like most people, getting used to each other. And one before I met Curtis, I have to say this. I used to go into a place called the Enterprise in Chicago, a lounge, one of the ex-Chicago football players owned. And people would say, "You were just in here. Why are you coming back?" Just played it off, sit at my favorite booth or at the bar, whichever.
Mm-hmm.
And when Curtis and I got together, he told me the same story when the Enterprise. And it was another one down the street we went to. So come to find out, we look alike, but when we get together, we don't look alike at all.
Right.
People had us really confused as being one of the same people.
Mm-hmm.
So as time went by, Curtis and I got together and we started working on the house out here. We went to Detroit. We One time he wanted to get a birth certificate from Jackson, Mississippi. Drove all the way to Jackson, Mississippi. Went in the county office, got the birth certificate, and drove all the way back to Chicago.
Wow.
Had a good time, going and coming.
Yeah.
And we came to Mississippi together to visit family, our sister Ellen Pryor and her children. And Curtis took me around to Russ College, showed me places where he grew up,
Mm-hmm.
where Victor Lee used to live down from the big house.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa used to live. He took me to the cemetery at the church and showed me where some of the family members were.
Tulahoma.
Chulahoma Church.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Curtis took me over to his auntie on his dad's side and introduced me to her. And he introduced me to his dad too, who lived in Memphis at the time. We used to house. Uh, just had a good time. Just knowing that I had family, like my dad, that loved me like I loved them. I just fell in love. I
Yeah.
felt much in love with dad's family. I just omitted my mom's family. But it took me a while. I caught up with both sides.
Okay. I don't want to get you in no trouble.
No.
I remember when you first met Joni, they called me and said, "We got another brother." And I said, "Okay." Hey, we
Yeah.
got another brother. One more. And it was the same way. Like growing up, Ellen and Geneva and Vic, they were all older, and we grew up with their kids. So it's like they were there, and okay, they're your brothers, your sisters, okay, whatever. And it just got to the point where, okay, one more. And you said that there's some more that we don't even know of. So what can I say?
Yeah, there was a total of 14. Two I know we never will find. 12 I knew about but couldn't find.
Yeah. Hey.
So I was to meet Ellen, Leela Mae, and Vic before the Lord took them home.
Yeah.
Had a good time with all three of them.
And spent time with Annette, and who we haven't seen in a while. And I miss her. So,
Yeah.
hey, life is good, and thank God that for your health. Um, you're a spry chicken, you know that?
You good looking yourself, you know
All
that?
right, all right. So, is there anything that you'd like to tell those that will be looking? Any words of wisdom, encouragement, or anything that you'd like to say?
Um, as I have grown older and more patient with myself within, I think whatever life present to you, if it's negative, use it as wisdom and move away from it. If if there's someone in your life that you know about, like I knew of Dad but couldn't find them, don't put off because tomorrow's not guaranteed, and the way it's now, the balance of the day is not guaranteed. So reach out to those you love. Reach out to the strangers that you pass in the street. Don't hesitate and say, "I'll wait and do something tomorrow," when God had given you the time and presence to do it right then. Um, it's so much I can talk about, sis. I'm not much of a talker, but I'd rather listen than talk
Mm-hmm.
because more from listening. And then when I give advice and I know what I'm talking about, if I don't know, I'll tell you I'm not for sure
Yeah.
or out together. I have learned that even though it hurt me when my four baby sisters decided to sprout their wings after I met them, to appreciate the fact that now I have family, no matter where they go in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you can remember, but after all four of y'all had settled down in the cities that you now live in, I got in my car one day. It's just, I wanted individual conversations with each one of my sisters. And I drove to Vanessa first, came to your house,
Mm-hmm.
went to Joni, went to Lee, and came back home.
Mm-hmm.
And those are memories that no one can take from me. No
Yeah.
one. And I felt content with that, spending personal time with each one of my sisters.
Yeah.
I wanted all of y'all to know I'll be there for you until I can't be there. That's,
Shown that.
and you are the first one of my sisters that really put tears in my eyes. And I knew you had to do what you had to do, but when I drove that U-Haul behind that car going to Pennsylvania,
Mm.
this is a long trip. I hope she changed her mind and come back.
I thought I'd be back in about a year or so, but hey, it's been for over 40 years now.
Long as the reunion.
Yes. Yes.
So that's life. And I'm happy for you. Can't see you like I want to, but I can talk to you.
No, you can ring me up on here. We can sit and chit chat much as you want.
Okay.
I love you, broski.
Thank you, baby. I love you more.
You've been good to us.
Thanks,
Mm.
sis.
Bye. Have a
Take
good evening, honey.